Tuku Sangpo and welcome to Bhutan This Week with me, Sharab Sangmo. Our top stories for the week. His Majesty the King granted an audience to the External Affairs Minister of India, Salman Khurshid, this week. The Ambassador-designate of India, VP Haran, presented his credentials to His Majesty the King as well. Prime Minister Jigme Waitila has said the 540-megawatt Amuchu hydropower project will begin only after the affected people has been compensated. His Majesty the King granted an audience to the External Affairs Minister of India, Salman Khurshid, on Tuesday. Minister Khurshid was on a two-day visit to the country. External Affairs Minister of India, Salman Khurshid, was escorted to the Tashchazong in a traditional chieftainal ceremony. He was then ushered into the golden throne room of His Majesty the King. The minister arrived yesterday afternoon leading a delegation comprising of officials from the Ministry of External Affairs of India. Minister Khurshid is visiting Bhutan at the invitation of the Minister in charge for Foreign Affairs, Khandu Wangchuk. This is his first visit to Bhutan. A news release from the Ministry of Foreign Affairs says the visit is in keeping with the tradition of regular high-level exchanges between the two countries. It also said the minister's visit will further strengthen the excellent state of cooperation and friendship between the two countries. Pema for BBS News. Bhutan and India should go beyond development partnership and explore becoming economic partners, said the Indian External Affairs Minister at a press conference during his visit. Speaking at the press conference, External Minister of India, Salman Khurshid, urged Bhutan and India to explore becoming economic partners.
To look at innovative ways of taking up challenges of our times and opportunities that modern global economic trends offer, and to take us beyond development partnership to economic partnership. And in economic partnership, it doesn't matter how big you are, how small you are in terms of population size and so on. What you need is the right dimensions as far as economic intervention is concerned. There's some good ideas, wonderful ideas the Bhutanese government has about using Bhutan as a hub.
Minister Khurshid described the meeting with the Bhutanese counterpart a success.
We talked of virtually all areas of mutual concern. We discussed the successful projects. We discussed the projects that are now being implemented, and also what needs to be done in the near future. And we've come to some principal agreement about structured consultations every year.
The minister added that they will be looking forward in exploring avenues such as tourism, education and ICT. The two countries also discussed on areas of cooperation in the field of infrastructure development. The delegation left the country today. Pema for BBS News. The Ambassador-designate of India to Bhutan, VP Haran, presented his credentials to His Majesty the King last Friday.
Ambassador-designate of India to Bhutan, VP Haran, was escorted to the Tashchazong in a traditional chieftainal ceremony. He was then ushered into the throne room where he presented his credentials to His Majesty the King. Prior to his current appointment, Ambassador BP Haran served as the Indian ambassador to Syria. He joined the Indian Foreign Service in 1980. Over a career span of more than 3 decades, Ambassador Haran has served in various other positions, including the Deputy Permanent Representative to World Trade Organization at the Permanent Mission of India in Geneva. He has also served at the Indian embassies in Nepal, Belgium, Moscow, and Afghanistan. Following the presentation of the credentials, His Majesty granted audience to Ambassador B.P. Haran. Tishanongmo, PBS News.
Unlike other hydropower projects, the 540-megawatt Amochu hydropower project will begin only after the affected people are compensated. A short luncheon when he met with the people from Samtsi and Chuka Dzongkhag last Saturday.
Lenchen said, if people collectively were not forthcoming for the project, it will not start.
If you feel and agree that such a project is not needed, then we will leave it. But when we take such a step, we have to think about the loss we will incur in future. We should weigh the pros and cons of the project for the Gyok, Dzongkhag and self-sufficiency goal of our country and then decide.
However, voicing the concerns of the people, the local leaders from the 5 affected Gyoks said the issue that people were worried about was timely and fair compensation for their loss.
Villagers said that they have been living and cultivating on land for ages, so they are worried that they might face problems when they shift to other areas.
If they give their land to the project, they fear that they might not be substituted with land.
According to the Land Act 2009, depending on their choice, affected families should be compensated with cash or land. Most villages wanted land to be substituted from within their Chiok or Gyok. Official from the National Land Commission said, provided that there is government land in the place, land substitution within their Chiok or Gyok is possible as per the Act. Agriculture Minister Dr. Pema Jamso said, the ministry will help the displaced villages to convert the substitute land into cultivable land.
We will help with the irrigation channel and also for land which cannot be cultivated. We will help with cattle raising programs.
Apart from the compensation and substitution, affected families will be entitled for free electricity of 100 units every year for a decimal of land that they give to the project. A total of 276 households with 1,726 families will be affected from 5 Gyoks under Chuka and Samtsi. Sonomongdi, PBS News.
The 19-year-old student who was abducted from Sarpang town on the 4th of this month was returned on Sunday night after a ransom of 550,000 Nultram had been paid to his abductors. The victim, who was ill at the time of his abduction, is undergoing treatment in Siliguri in India at the moment. 2 men involved in the abduction of the student were killed in an encounter on the 14th in the forest near Ultapani village, some 12 kilometers from Sarpang town, as reported by the Superintendent of Police of Kokrajhar district in Assam, India. The SP said the Indian SIM card used for calling the family of the victim to demand the ransom was also retrieved from the body of one of the 2 men. He added that the 2 men belonged to the National Democratic Front of Bodoland. 3 more men have been arrested in connection to the abduction. The SP has said they have not been able to retrieve the ransom that the victim's parents had paid to these abductors. This is the 3rd kidnapping within 4 months in Sarpang Dzongkhag. The standard of labor safety at the construction sites in the eastern Dzongkhag is said to be poor, as per the records maintained by the Regional Labor and Employment Office in Tashigang. From November last year till date, many contractors and laborers have been fined for not complying with the Labour Act.
The Regional Labour and Employment Office in Tashkent have so far fined 13 contractors for not providing safety gears to their labourers, and 24 labourers have been fined for not wearing safety gears provided by the contractors. Yesterday, during their routine inspection in Kanglung, a contractor was fined 9,000 Nultrams. Another contractor was given a memo to improve the labour safety standards. According to the Labour Act, contractors are required to hand out safety gears such as helmets, boots, goggles, golf and safety belts to the laborers, and it is mandatory for all the laborers to wear the safety gears while working.
다니기 딜라 아니 다 공루 같이 베버진 헬멧이 메모라 헬멧이 뚜브로 주버진라 공감쯤에 야래 자니 라베스 사고나래 보브리 안좀베 라루치 구토 좀 안좀베 베닝인가도 발라 다니 베버다 라루지 테카도 같이 미치 베얼든지 몰라 시킨지스 헤카도마 아니 가라 시킨 중인 인가도 발라 다니 베다 공안이 대 같이 시킨나 마킨지스 마밥 잡수세 되비십니다.
While some contractors provide few safety gears to the laborers, many contractors do not provide at all. Few laborers whom BBS talked to said it is difficult to work without the safety gears.
इसे देखिए अभी हाथ मोजा नहीं है तो हम लोग को थोड़ा डिस्टर्ब होता है और गमबूट नहीं होने से देखिए चोट अगर काटी घुस गया तो सेफ्टी का वैसे तो हर टाइम में हम लोग लेबर भाई बोल के हम लोग सेफ्टी का बेज लेता है साल में एक बार ऐसे कि हेलमेट होने से गिरने से भी हम लोग को सेव होगा थोड़ा.
Contractors who continue to violate the Labour Act will be inviting bigger fines. For second-time violation, they will have to pay 36,000 neutrum.
덴진이가 되비나 마시 공기디 마수기 마동 마시 이슬람에 와라. 대배당 같이 라일 행각 가둘래라. 대 공루 대 awareness 캠페인라. 대 정달 안전배 마도 뚜빼라. 대 지진란이디. 대 디멘션 같이 다 다리 남유동 준이라. 인다 주백이 인세질레 대 행각 가둘래 대 공기알레 세라야 베디라 마도 뚜빼다니 가라라린 타고 벨라.
According to the records maintained with the Basic Health Unit in Kangwon, 149 work-related injuries were recorded between January to October last year. No casualty was, however, recorded. Ishitoki, BBS News, Kangwon.
Ritti village in Jimicholingyok in Sarpang has 5 households that are Monpa descendants. They, however, feel threatened by modernization and worry that they could lose their culture and language over time.
67-year-old Singye was born in a Monpa family. He said his forefathers fled from Adaruka and Wangdefodrang during the period of the father of first Druk Gyalpo, Jiminamgyal, to evade taxes. Singye lives with his wife and his 9 children. Unlike Singye and his wife Benzi, who are both born Monpas, majority in the community are not. Many have married from outside the Monpa community. This has raised fears of their culture disappearing.
The chance of our culture and tradition disappearing is high because the village is small and has less population. In the past, there used to be marriage among relatives and cousins, but now with education things have changed. Children marry someone from outside.
The elderly Monpa people are at least hopeful their language will survive the storm of modernization. 21-year-old Tashizam is the daughter of Singye and Binzi. She is an NFA instructor and is married to a teacher from Tashigang. She too is quite sure their language will hold strong. Zonka and English language have become popular now. Due to education, opportunities to go out of the village have increased, thus exposing people to various other languages. But if we keep on speaking our local dialect, we can preserve it. But the Ritti Sokpa Tenzin is not so hopeful. He feels their language will die just as their culture is fast disappearing.
Earlier, our parents spoke our local dialect only, but now the usage is getting less. I feel after our parents and elderly ones are gone, the dialect will be gone too.
There are 16 households in Ritti village and 5 of it has Monpa roots. Until 2006, Ritti was under Korfu Gyok in Trongsa. Shauri Gurung, BBS News, Galifu.
Private newspapers in the country have been facing severe financial problems since about 2 years ago. To sustain themselves, some newspapers have started exploring various avenues to generate income for themselves. Among them is Bhutan Observer, the second oldest private newspaper in the country. Bhutan Observer says the revenues from the advertisements started decreasing from the beginning of 2011, and this had compelled the company to lay off some of its employees. Also, the company had no option but to start exploring other avenues to generate revenues.
So we had to take some drastic step because to address the shortage or shrink in the revenue, newspaper revenue, we had to start publication.
And with these measures in place, the editors said the financial status of the company has slightly improved.
It is now much more comfortable that way. We didn't have a printing press of our own before. Now we do, and that way it's more comfortable.
In terms of financial?
In terms of finance even, yes.
Besides the publication of its own books like Best of Bhutan Observer editorials, Bhutan Observer has also got the contract of compiling a magazine for Drucare Corporation. It is also redesigning its website to earn income from online advertisements.
We now want to give it a more professional touch, feel and look, which currently is not ready. So we have engaged a professional designer from abroad, and we are working with him, and the project has actually advanced to a very appreciable level. And so after that is done, we hope we can make some income from online advertisements.
Other private newspapers are still facing severe financial problem. For instance, Bhutan Today, which began on a daily, now has become bi-weekly. The newspaper initially had 50 staff, but today it has only 19.
Yeah, the financial problem of Bhutan is really, really severe, Why I say like that is because the staffs, especially us, initially we are not paid. It's not that the company didn't have money and didn't want to pay, because the revenue is not there.
Bhutan Today says with 12 newspapers in the market, it barely gets its share of advertisements. It also says most of the advertisements from the government goes to Quinsel.
Everybody knows the main source is the advertisement only. So some say like we like to give you on rotation basis. They initially used to get, because there were so few players now, so there are so many players, and if they want to give also, they give on turn-wise basis. But the main one, the advertisement, the main one goes only to Queensland only. And the other papers we are left behind, so we hardly get.
And this is what the Secretary of the Ministry of Information and Communications has to say.
Okay, you're saying that private media says there's not enough ads, right? What does that mean? Not enough ads for how many newspapers? 100, 50, 20, 10, 3. So it's a question of how many different media companies, print, again, broadcast, online, that society needs and society can sustain. I think that's the issue, because our population is small, the readership, viewership, the audience is small and limited. The market is small, therefore Bhutanese society can only sustain a certain number of media.
Dashukinle Doji added that there are no enough advertisement budgets to give advertisements to all the newspapers, but on the other hand, he said government has assisted private media in terms of human resource development and purchase of tax-free printing machine and other equipment.
The misunderstanding is, the government must support all newspapers, give everyone advertising to sustain them. The government does not have that kind of funds. to help media, like infrastructure, including fiber optics, equipment, no taxes on equipment, all the money that's going into training, and then the regulatory environment, like the laws and all the act, Media Act, updated regularly. I mean, that's how you stabilize the media environment.
Meanwhile, the chief of Infocom and Media Development Division says the advertisement guideline has all the set criteria that have to be followed.
We also have in place now information and media officers who will actually help with this placement of ads. Earlier, I think we had this problem where all ministries did not have information media officers, and now we have them in all ministries and all organizations, which are government organizations, and we are conducting trainings also for them to be able to learn about how, about this whole thing about advertisements.
Looking at the present situation of the private newspapers, it is well to say that only the fittest will survive in the market. Pemal Hardin for BBS News. There aren't many of us who can remember the days when we tagged along with our parents and siblings to watch plays. Theatre or stage plays are becoming very rare in the country now, losing out competition from digital media.
Tsering Doji is the founder of Happy Valley Theatre. He started his career in the theatre and says with numerous challenges and criticism, the true artistic expression of theatre is lost. However, he believes that the liveliness of theatre is incomparable to any other form of media.
Of course, television is very important, but it is also a digital media. Whereas theatre is human, it is when you that feeling that you get when you're inside a theatre hall, and when a live person comes on the stage and creates an illusion, that's very magical, and you don't feel like it's not automated, or it's not a mechanized substance art happening on the stage.
The audience now prefers films to stage plays.
The coming of the television, and I think our the taste and also the standard that we expect of plays have gone up tremendously with the media and the multimedia coming to our country now. So films any day would be much more better watched and much more liked.
He said infusion of both traditional and modern play is one option to improve stage plays. However, enactments during the Tsichu transmitting religious and cultural aspect into the audience are still successful. Jungra and Mark's dances beautifully portray our tradition and authentic Bhutanese plays.
I think traditionally, probably the mode and the form of the mode of training would have been different. But of course, we had, whether we call it anything, opera, drama, or play, stage play, we didn't have as such, but we had. Traditionally, we had the Tsichus, which were doing more or less everything. So Tsichus had even the Guru Rinpoches, Guru Tsenje, and then the enactment of also the large judgment, which is Shinji Gyep's judgment. So these are, to some extent, some form of play and drama, which had basically religious themes.
But efforts to revive our very own traditional theatre are underway.
We will have some artists coming from Italy, from America, and then they'll be collaborating with some of our artists from Rapa, and we will be staging an opera in October this year. So we are really looking forward to that now.
Although stage plays were never considered a vibrant part of our society, it carries cultural and spiritual value. Compiled for Pema Dema, Tenzin Rabge, BBS News.
9 Bhutanese volunteers will be heading to Japan on Sunday. They will be helping the victims of the 2011 March earthquake and tsunami. Ugen Chada is one of the volunteers going to Japan. His team will be joining 3,000 volunteers from around the world for over 2 weeks.
While reaching over there, we will be learning the aftermath of the disaster of Great East Japan earthquake and see how it has been recovering since the disaster. And also the members from Bhutan, and also there are many volunteers around the globe, and we will be doing some voluntary activities over there, kind of cleaning up the beaches, and planting the trees, and also visiting the families which has been affected by the great tsunami last year.
That's all we have for this week. Thank you for watching.